we have four-time champion, assistant commissioner, Toronto Mockingjays owner Spencer Ullman. How are you doing?
I'm doing quite well.
We have Andy Russell, runs the St. Cloud Scotties. Oh, he doesn't anymore.
That's not-
I knew it. I typed it, and I'm like, that's not his name.
He hasn't done that in like years.
A year.
The
Years.
Cloudtown Brews. Andy, how you doing? Congrats on your playoff appearance.
Oh, thanks. It's been an honor.
Yeah. And lastly, Alex Cook, first-time owner and owner of Catcher in the Ryu. Have you read Catcher in the Rye? Alex?
It's been a long time, but yes, that's where the name just popped in my head when I realized I should make a name that kind of bases on one of the players on my team.
Because Bob Uecker has a book, Catcher in the Rye, based on the rye bread.
Really?
Yes, a little known fact. It's a terrible book.
Stop, you're gonna make me hungry.
It's a terrible book. So, full disclosure, I've never won the championship. I don't think I've ever played in the championship. So a lot of these questions I will not have really any input on. For Alex and Andy, when you guys were looking at your teams going into the playoffs, did you make any big changes? Anything that you're like, since it's a 2-week matchup, since it's the playoffs, since I'm playing this guy, I did this?
Well, for me at least, I picked up a bunch of players that have been hot as of late. Like, I don't normally do that. I'm really slow at pulling the trigger on, like, top waiver pickup for that week players. Like, Will Smith on the catcher on the Dodgers, I was like, he's been hitting well the last week, so I was like, you know what? I'm getting no production. I don't think anyone's getting production except 2 people out of catcher. It can't hurt to plug and play. Same with Jesus Aguilar. I saw he had a couple good games once he went to Tampa Bay, and I'm like, well, if he's getting regular starts now, it's worth, plugging in and hopefully hits a couple home runs for Tampa Bay and shows Milwaukee they're dumb for trading him. But hey, so that's kind of what my approach to that.
And are you starting them or are you sitting them?
Mitchell, you cut out there.
Andy, are you starting these guys that you're picking up, or are you just putting them on your roster?
I starting them. I don't have any depth for first base or catcher, so I just said I'm gonna play whoever is hitting hot right now. So that's my approach at the moment.
Yeah. Alex, what about you? Are you making any changes?
I didn't really make any changes. I've had some injuries that are short term, so I don't really I don't know. Once Hyunjin Ryu comes back, I'm going to probably try and play him for the second week of this matchup. And other than that, I just kind of made sure to check on, who's been hot lately and try to make sure that they're in the lineup over Matt Carpenter, who has been awful.
Yeah. I wonder how good Matt Carpenter ever has been from an offensive, fantasy. He gets on base and things like that, but...
Very good.
I was just
Last year he was really good, I thought.
And you're right. When I was saying that, Spencer, I was pretty much talking to you because I knew that you would know that answer.
I mean, last year he batted .257 with 36 home runs.
I mean, the average hasn't really been there, but he's always on base.
Matt Carpenter, the St. Louis Cardinal, had that many home runs?
Yeah.
Yep.
He popped off for 2 months.
Damn.
He also makes good salsa, apparently.
And so, I wanted him to be as a keeper because his stats were really good last year, and it seemed like, he was, building towards this season, and then it's just been, completely flat, filled with injuries, constantly in and out of the lineup, and, he'll have, a good game, so you'll get excited, put him back in, and then he'll just be nothing, just completely awful.
Andy, Alex kind of touched it on it being a 2-week playoff. Did that make any difference to you, or just
Not particularly. I know in 2 weeks most of my players are going to get a lot of starts. It's not like some weeks during the regular season where I looked at players that, this guy is only starting 5 games this week over, this guy's starting 6 or 7. I really just, most of my starters, at least my position players, I kept as normal, other than the ones I had stated previously where they were hitting hot. My pitching, on the other hand, I kind of aimed it so that, there would be pitchers going twice one week, and then I might adjust it the next week where I put an extra reliever in if they are playing a weaker team. Obviously, this week, I only have one reliever in with Aroldis Chapman. Otherwise, I kept Carlos Martinez out of my pitching lineup just because I had a lot of pitchers going twice. So that's kind of how I'm running with it at the moment. Hopefully it works out because I want to move on,
Right.
Alex is a scary team. I've lost to him plenty of times in the playoffs. I lost him in 2014 in the championship round, so I'm scared of him.
Well, the interesting thing is both of you are underwater against your opponents. Both of you have less points for than who you're playing. So I guess if I'm you, Andy, I guess it would make sense to play the hot hand because statistically, if you go with just your average team, you will on average lose. Right?
Right. No, right, and that's fine. That's a thought too. I just want to put up as much points as possible because I feel like in the matchups I've lost this year, I've just been buried by the other team. So I don't want someone popping off against me, and I'm putting just a normal what I think is going to work in. So that was just my thought with making my lineup for this week.
And I initially was going to ask the first question to Spencer, but I actually want to definitely know Spencer's on the second question. Spencer, I guess I'll start with you. Does it matter who you play?
In the playoffs?
Yeah.
No, not really. I mean, your team got you there for a reason because it's good for the most part. And the next thing you want to do is just, as they've already mentioned, you want to have hot players. Generally, you want hot pitchers because you get people who throw complete game shutouts in the playoffs and you're up like 50 points all of a sudden.
Right, and I guess I was thinking about, when Kershaw was really good and Alex would just ride.
Stop people, yeah.
Yeah, Alex Spencer would just ride Clayton Kershaw. Do you go more out on a limb with pitchers and stack your start if you know you're going against Alex Swenson and Kershaw, or you just go with your normal set of guys?
Well, I mean, what I normally did when I would be in the playoffs would be try to find those starters who have a good matchup, like say someone's playing Miami, and then the other one that they've been pretty good for 3-4 starts in a row, because you don't want to put someone in who's like 20 points, 3, 27 points, -7.
Right.
Because you can't trust that, and it's the playoffs. You just need to get at least 10 points from your pitcher.
And I think this year. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
I think this year too, with there being so many more teams in the league than there have been in the past, it's been harder to find those pitchers that have good matchups. You have to jump on a rookie pitcher, or just you have to be almost watching every game, seeing which pitchers are doing well, and then I want that before someone else jumps on it and they have them for 3 weeks, ride their hot hand, and then drop them, and you're just like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I was pretty bad at that this year. Lance Lynn. Who knew Lance Lynn was going to be good in Texas?
Right, or Mike Minor.
Yeah.
Or Mike Minor, yeah.
Those were good. I think, honestly, the king of jumping on people when they're hot, David Feller. He is, I swear, he's got every game notification on his phone. He's gets those players. Multiple times this year I've been trying to jump on, because I see it on Twitter 20 minutes ago, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to jump on this guy.
David already had him for 2 days.
I actually looked it up yesterday, though, and you actually had the most, of everything in terms of transactions, slightly more than David in every category.
I mean, honestly, I just get bored and fiddle with it when I'm on break at work.
Add and drop the same person 3 times over.
Yeah.
The 3 most active people by far are Andy, David, and then you, Spencer.
That's generally where I am, near the top of that.
Same.
And everyone is in just such a tier below that. It's so funny.
Yeah.
And the funny thing, Lucas made 20 of his 35 moves in the first 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he put together an alright team, I thought.
Yeah, he turned it around.
I agree.
He stopped me the last last week.
Yeah, I'm really impressed that he ended up being 6'11", and yeah, I agree.
I think he's set up for the future. You know, if he plays in the league still.
I think he is
Yeah.
too.
Made some good trades, but
He did a good job. Another team I'm impressed with the last few weeks of the season was yours, Mitchell.
Yeah, I really.
Yeah, you
Turned it on just a little too late.
Just a little too late.
I'm glad I didn't play you.
Yeah.
I wish I didn't. I would have made getting into the playoffs a lot less stressful.
Yeah, I was really hoping that some mathematical issue would have happened, but even with the tie, David had outscored me so much.
Well, I mean, starting the season 2-9 is just it's too much.
Yeah.
That's a hole.
But yeah, no, that was a good turnaround. That was impressive.
I'm gonna skip down to 3 and go back to Spencer. Spencer, were you out of the playoffs last year too?
I believe so.
So you're getting pretty good at not being in the playoffs.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, yeah.
Being mean.
I now know
He's
what
only
it's like
talking
to be like
trash.
you.
He's only talking trash because he scored 30 more points than you, but Mitchell had the benefit of having 200 less points.
It's okay. I'm gonna be like the Dallas Cowboys and revel in my past history and be like, "Hey, I've won 4 times. What have you done, Mitchell?"
Right. Nothing, honey. More recently, would you say, is it easier to predict now who's going to do well in the playoffs opposed to, I don't know, 10 years ago when we did the playoffs?
No, it's so much harder now.
It's harder to predict.
I think it's harder to predict. I mean, the only thing that you can know as a guarantee is that Matt Keller's going to be in the playoffs, or in the finals.
Yeah. True.
Since he's done it every year he's been in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Right?
Good job, Matt. I'm proud of you.
I'm super. Andy, he was such a good find. You would stay friends with him for the sole reason that he comes back for us.
I mean, lifeguards stick together, man.
Yeah.
The main thing that makes it hard to predict too is that 2 weeks are like a completely different thing. Like, you never know when a pitcher's just gonna completely wipe away someone in a single week matchup, but in the 2 weeks you still give the other team a chance to come back.
Right.
So it makes it a little harder, but I mean, it's harder, as Andy said, it's harder to find those people who are good, and that's why what David does is so impressive. It just sucks for David that he got like 300 points against scored on him every week.
Yeah, his point totals every week though were scary.
Yeah, I mean, his team was scary, so.
Like I said, I would not have wanted to play him coming into the playoffs here.
No.
Like,
But-
yeah. You know, he'll come back strong next year, I think. He's got a
He
good
always
team.
does.
And, you know, he's good on the waiver wire.
There's no way that you're going to get the most points scored against you 2 years in a row, you know? Just statistically, it's just not going to happen.
Well, I don't know that.
Just you wait.
Yeah, just
But-
you wait.
But the playoffs, I mean, Carlos's crew's set up pretty good with that pitching staff, and I mean, it's good even without Max Scherzer.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree.
yeah,
And getting back to David, you know, the thing about David is I think he is a more extreme version of Alex Swenson. Alex Swenson would always drop and add people, and David Feller just does it faster. He just does everything faster than everybody else. That guy could not keep any keepers from one year to the next, and I still think that he would be okay just because his like rapid process improvement of building his team always ends up working.
He's a good drafter, and he's good on waiver wire.
I mean, has Alex ever really been someone who's been good at adding and dropping? He just always has Julio Teheran be dominant every other year.
I would say the last 5 years it's decreased, but he was the guy who was at the top in terms of transactions.
Well, and one thing on the transaction counter that it doesn't count is the amount of trade offers, and I don't even want to fathom what that number is for David.
Yeah. Trade completed trades went down from last
Well,
year.
all the
But,
trades were like really early on.
yeah.
I feel like even though most people in this league, I think David and I talked about this, I think earlier this year or last season, that like a lot of people in this league, and that's not, I'm not bashing anyone, they just don't trade. Like they're not willing to make those moves. Like I think Alex, myself, David, Lucas, maybe Mitchell. Did you make a trade this year?
I don't think so. If it did, it wasn't
Spencer and I made a
substantial.
trade.
And Spencer, yeah. Like
I made one with Lucas and Alex.
that's
Yeah.
the only. I know I'm missing one other team that I can't think of off the top of my head, but those are the only teams I can really think that made trades this year. And I'm not saying there needs to be a ton of trades every week, but
I
like,
made 3 trades.
I was offered some trades by Pete. I just didn't take them because they weren't good
Yeah.
trades.
and
Wait.
I offered bad trades all year. I do apologize to everyone that I was trying to sell Jeff
Oh.
McNeil to, but
I hate yours, though.
I mean, I liked the Jeff McNeil trade we did, but you were thirsty for Yelich for a long time as well.
yeah, it's because I was like, fuck,
Well,
this,
who wasn't?
or heck, this sucks. You know what's wrong with me?
Too late, you already did it.
Yeah.
I can't live in the past, man. I'm gonna cry.
Well, I think in there's a lot in the trade debacle, but I don't think we have fully, like as a league, decided what we're going to do with keepers. Because I don't think we've gotten to a point where somebody is comfortable enough to say, I'm not going to make the playoffs, so I'm going to sell all of my flash players and try to get a keeper. And I think
I
if we...
tried to do that last year, but nobody likes trading their best player.
I agree, but I think with 16 teams, you don't have a free agency pool really at all. You can't go pick somebody up on the wires, which you guys had mentioned. I just think
Right.
those changes, it takes a few years to figure out how that all works out.
It's a lot
Well,
based on.
if,
Oh, I'm sorry. What were you saying?
go ahead.
What I was thinking is that it's very interesting because your team, you really live and die by the draft in this league, or you get lucky on a rookie that you picked up at the beginning of the year, or some guy who comes out of nowhere, like Jeff McNeil, for example. Even Pete Alonso was like popping off in spring training. David jumped all over that. Look at him now. Up until the 4th of July, last month, he was amazing. Good, really good power hitter for David, and I think that's going to be the new norm now. It's not going to be people are looking for matchups on free agency. They're really going to be, hey, I need to nail the draft, or I'm kind of screwed, or I need to make trades or something. But with how a lot of people in the league right now are trading, it's really limited to what you can do. So that's just what I think is going forth is what it's going to look like if we stay at a 16-team league. So
I totally agree because I think that like if you have like 12 teams, it's a lot more likely that a team will have more than 3 really good pieces, and then they're trying to scramble for what they should keep, and if they need to make a playoff push, maybe they'd be more likely to make a trade. But with 16 teams, not many people have more than 3 keeper type players. So it's like you're clinging on to those players. You're not as likely to trade them because you need them going forward.
No, definitely. So it should be interesting. I think can we trade in the off season, or are we locked once the season's done?
You can
Like-
trade your keepers.
Keepers, okay.
Yeah, I think February is when that, just before they shut down for maintenance, but your whole team carries with you all the way until about February. So if you want to keep somebody that somebody doesn't, or you could trade that as well. You're supposed to be able to trade draft picks. I know that exists, but
You can't do it until after the league restarts.
yeah, you can't do it after then, and then you have to do it eye for an eye, which is dumb in a really weird way.
Because didn't David and Garrett trade draft picks a few years ago? Like 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think the first year we did it, and I think they just kind of did it because they wanted to try it. It's exceptionally more difficult with keepers because when you set your pre-ranks, it includes the keepers, so it's hard to know who's going to go where.
Oh, sure.
But to answer your question, yes, you could trade in the off-season.
Neat. Very neat.
Should we do picks?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right.
Sure, Dad.
Alex Cook, why don't you start us off? Who do you got? First off, Go through the matchups of this week and your winners.
Okay, so I'll start off with the Dirty Blue Sox versus Joe Buck Yourself.
Okay.
I think it's going to be Dirty Blue Sox all the way. I think that Becca's team's got way too many injuries to overcome that matchup. And Pete's team's just strong. It has been. He kind of took a downturn and got unlucky with some matchups, but I mean, he was like 9-2 to start the league for a reason. I mean, his players aren't bad by any means. So yeah, I would definitely go with him for that matchup. Between Pat's team, Hamilton's Coke Dealer, and the Butt Slappers, I'm going with Pat's team. I think that his team is just stacked. He's got Cody Bellinger, Max Muncy, and Wade Miley's been pitching lights out this whole year, surprisingly. Brewer should have held on to him.
But I cry.
So yeah, I'm going to go with Hamilton's Coke Dealer. And then between Andy and Alex, we kind of talked about this matchup a little bit already, but I'm actually going to go with Andy's team because I think he's got a bunch of young players that are getting hot, coming into their own in the league, like Keston Hira and I'm going to butcher this, but is it Ketel Marte?
Yeah.
Ketel Marte. And obviously you have Nolan Arenado, so I think your team is just going to outpower Alex's team in the end, honestly. And I even wanted to talk about that Merrifield trade, even though we already talked about it. I think that was a good addition to your team, kind of just solidified it. Yeah, I think that you're going to take care of business. And then in terms of me versus Carlos' crew, Spencer and I have talked about this outside of the podcast, and Spencer's been nice and frank with me. I mean, there's not a whole lot of hope in my corner, but you never know.
You never know.
He's got a lot of injuries. Scherzer's hurt, Pineda's hurt, Byron Buxton's hurt. He's got them on the IL. You know, maybe Hyunjin Ryu comes back in the second week and just pitches a gem for me. You never know.
How long is he out for?
Hyunjin Ryu?
Yes, sir.
They're saying he'll be back either Sunday or like Tuesday.
Gotcha.
Yes, sir. Andy, why don't you go? Who you got for first round winners?
All right, so why don't we start the same kind of order? I'll start with Becca's team and Pete's team. I've said this a long time, or at least I've thought it to myself. Becca's teams are scary in the fact that she has Mike Trout.
Right.
Mike Trout, I think, can carry a team. Not to take away from Pete's team, I know he's fallen on a bit of hard luck recently with some injuries, and his pitching staff, it has been very good. I mean, with Verlander and Morton just pitching lights out, and Clevinger, I haven't really kept an eye on how he's been since he's come back, but I think he's been pretty good. He has the superior pitching staff for sure. Actually, I don't know that.
I disagree with that, but
yeah, Becca actually has Renke, Cole, Asiel Iglesias. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm giving it to Becca just based off of just Mike Trout, the Mike Trout factor.
okay.
Also, did I say Lizzie? Nope.
Nope, you got
good.
it.
I thought I said Lizzie. My bad. Okay, so for the second matchup of the Butt Slappers and the Hamilton's Coke Dealers, I gotta take a look at this. I think I want to go with the Butt Slappers on this.
How?
You know, I think that they're under. I think he has an underrated team. Also, I don't want my butt slapped, so I'm scared. No, I'm just kidding. But no, honestly, I think I gotta pick an upset. And I don't think Becca beating Pete is an upset, to be fair, because she's been scoring points all season. So I kind of have to go with Gage. Gotta go with the Butt Slappers. I think Cody Bellinger has calmed down quite a bit since he started off the year. He's kind of hit a bunch of home runs recently, but his average has only just been going down. He hasn't been hitting for much power as of late. So I think I see it harder for Hamilton's Coke Dealer Pat to move on. I'm sorry. Pat. Too many P's, man. I'm tired. So then the matchup, Matt Keller versus Alex Cook. I'm I'm sorry, Alex. I have to go with. I know you picked me, and I apologize, but I can't go against Matt. He's had success in the playoffs. His team is just overall very solid. Like you said, he does have injuries, and I think you will give him a run for his money for sure. I think that how your team's been performing recently, can put up a decent fight against Matt, and I probably might be wrong about this, but I see Matt winning. Just his team is overall very good, really good pitching staff. So, and then me versus Alex Swenson, I see. I want to say it's gonna be me. I'm going back to back.
It's gonna be you?
Back to back. It's gonna be me. It's gonna be me.
It's gonna be me.
Just the way my team's been scoring as of late, I think that a lot of my players are getting hot again. Michael Conforto is finally hitting like he should. Springer's back. He's healthy. He's hitting well. I think playing against lesser pitching staffs this week, Keston Herrera is going to find it again. Jesus Aguilar is going to... I don't want to keep going on with my lineup, but I think my batting lineup is very solid, and they're going to put up good numbers. My pitching staff, I'm not so sure. They've kind of been up and down all year. It's been a struggle for me, but I think that I have faith in my pitching staff as opposed to Alex's pitching staff. He has Kershaw, but you don't know what you're going to get with Kershaw. It's not a given this year. And I feel like Kyle Hendricks is only good against the Cardinals, so...
Well, Spencer, I'm gonna have you go last since you're our resident expert on the playoffs. Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
Becca at 10-7, I think will beat Pete, but I don't think it's going to be the Trout factor. I think it's going to be the Greinke factor. I think you can put him in an Astros uniform, and Greinke is going to, help the Astros win the World Series, and to do that, they're going to blow everyone on the water to get there. Next, Gage Mann. Shout out to my boy Gage. Has never made the playoffs before. This is his first playoff appearance. And shout out to Becca. First playoff appearance since 2012. So, Becca and Gage doing good work. But Gage is going to lose.
Mitchell, no, never mind.
Yikes, hold on.
What?
Just say El Caballo.
Yeah.
Pat will win. To be frank, neither one is going to last long, even if they do make it. Both their pitching staffs are scary. Jumping to Cook and Matt, I agree with Andy. Matt could very well win it all. Alex, love you. Congrats on making the playoffs. You're, 10th in the power rankings to begin with, which, so good for you, but man, you're about to get...
It's okay. Spencer had me higher in the power rankings. The bias was just from your end, Mitchell.
Oh, good. Okay. All right. Well, good. Stick with that. Andy and Alex, man, I don't know.
Going back
I
to
see why
back.
I'm going last.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Alex. I think it's going to be Becca and Matt in the finals. But, yeah, Andy, I don't think you're going to make it out of round one. All right, Spencer.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, no problem.
Alright, I'm going to just start based off how the website goes. So it's Alex versus Carlos Crew. And as Alex pointed out, I so nicely put it that I think Carlos Crew is going to win. Just because of his pitching staff. Even without Scherzer, it's still really good.
Yeah.
It is good.
And Alex not having Hyunjin Ryu for the first week is kind of tough. Even if he comes back. But I mean, Yelich, as Andy put, Mike Trout can carry a team. Yelich can obviously carry his team too. So it really just depends on the week that Yelich. Yeah, that depends on the week that Yelich has. But my thought is Carlos Cruz going to win, and I actually think he's going to win the whole thing too. So that's my champion pick for
Makes me
later.
feel a little better.
Hamilton's Coke dealer and butt slappers. Andy, I have no idea how you think Gage is going to possibly
I don't
pull it
either.
off.
Oh
Gonna
boy.
slap some butts, okay?
He's
Now,
gonna.
his team has lost 4 in a row, and it's just he went 8-9. And as I said so nicely in the last podcast, that division you didn't need to pay attention to it, and I still think that's true.
Yeah.
Pat's gonna win. Well, I mean, he says that every year. It's never happened. Pat's team's gonna win that one pretty easily. I don't think I need to go any further into that.
Disrespectful.
Yeah.
Pete and Becca, the Marsnick Bowl. I've been going back and forth on this the whole day. Becca's pitching staff's too good, and I value the pitching staff too much in the postseason. Garrett Cole and Zach Greinke, yeah, go ahead.
On Becca's team, I'm just going to point it out, she has 3 players in her lineup that are all on the IL for, like, extended periods of time.
Yeah, and I'm just saying her pitching staff's good enough to pick that up.
Like, that good? Like, I mean, she has people on her IL she could have activated to play.
Oh, is half her team hurt? I didn't even realize that.
Edwin Encarnacion is out 3 to 5 weeks with a wrist injury. Robinson Cano tore his hamstring. And
Yeah, I mean, and she
Hernandez
can...
is hurt with a hand
She
injury.
needs to make some changes and put people in for next week, but I mean, Zach Greinke, Garrett Cole, and Luis Castillo they're going to put up a ton of points.
Sure.
And she won the last 3 or 4 anyways.
Yeah, so it's not like it's what Lizzie would do when she didn't put people in. Lizzie's team sucked as it was, and then she had no injured people playing. Becca's team's really good and has Mike Trout on top of a really good pitching staff. So
And Trevor Story.
Yeah, and Trevor Story, but I think Becca's team's gonna pull that out. Andy's and Alex Swenson's, that's a good matchup. I think Andy takes it just because Andy's team, as he said, his team's been hitting better the last few weeks, and the pitching's not great, but neither is Alex's besides Kershaw, so really just depends on whose offense can get hot in this matchup instead of pitching, because neither one of their pitching staffs is really going to carry them, and Andy's offense is just so much better, so I think Clawtown Brewers are going to win that one.
Agreed.
Andy and Swenson have been in the finals together before, haven't they?
Yes, they have, and Swenson won that one.
All right, last thing. Most of this was hinted, but the same order. Alex Cook, who do you got winning it all?
I picked Andy, actually.
Andy, who do you got?
Of course I have me.
I got Matt. Spencer, what do you got?
I also have Matt.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining. This will probably be our last one. What do you think, Spencer?
Probably, unless something crazy happens, but not much to really talk about besides what we already did.
All right. Thanks, everyone.